Hey family, good morning, how you doing? So listen, it's 1:24 in the AM for me, California time. And like I said earlier, we were going to come and try to speak to some things that we've been going through as a nation, some things we've been looking at as a people. And, we just want to speak to a couple of things. Hopefully, we won't take too long. And if we do, then we'll just have to make this a part 2. Let me check the old timer situation here. Looks like nephew tried to get at me a little earlier, but it's okay. It really is. All right, so what are we doing? How are you guys doing? Huh? It's been a while, a couple of days since we've been together, and we're gonna try to get into some things here, and we'll just leave it where it is, right? So hey, listen, we've got some things that are going on with us, and we want to try to address some of those situations because we as people have been going through some things. So first of all, as you can see, the track that's going in the background is something that was done by us, and we are starting to use our own material because Facebook and YouTube has a problem with you using other people's materials. However, there is such a thing as fair use, and we do use fair use. Now, fair use indicates that we are able to use other people's property, their CDs, their discs, their videos, and things like that, certain portions of it under fair use. And, it's for, criticism, news reporting, teaching, parodies, what have you. But we're not making fun of anybody, and we're certainly not in this for money. So we're just out here trying to, spread some word and show some love and get into you guys and show you guys some things. Okay. Most importantly, we just want to worship and discuss the scriptures and talk about the Most High and see what we can do that way, right? So, as we are, how you doing? Okay. Sorry if the light is a little bit faded, but I probably need to get another diffuser. But again, it's it's 1 something in the morning. So what is it? 1:27 now. So it's just you and me. It's just us. So we'll just go at it from here and see what we get, see how far we get. So we're already a few minutes in. We're going to see just how far we can get with this, okay? I want to talk about a couple of things, first of all. And so let's just get our stuff up here, But the first thing I want to talk about Israel is our behavior. And the first thing I do is check me. Always checking me first. Because it's necessary, that I check me first. Again, flying solo over here, so don't mind me looking all over the screen, trying to see what I need to see in order to keep us engaged. Okay? But for the most part, we're going to get E-Sword up here. E-Sword, you're going to come up? E-Sword is not going to come up. That's my eSword. Where's your eSword? Here's your eSword window. Where's your eSword's not popping up? I have your eSword window right here. Okay, so we're going to have to let me see if it'll do it for you now. I had it up. There's your eSword. Okay. I know I had it up because it's right there and I was using it. I must have closed the window when I went away. But listen, I want Israel. First thing we got to talk about is our behavior. Look, I post some things, and then you guys post some things, and sometimes you guys post some things that completely go against our nature, and our behavior. First thing I do is check me, okay? Because my nephew said to me, dropping F-bombs, okay? I did a video a while back when I did the I'm All In and what was it? I'm All In and the Tell All, right? Well, I had gone through this situation with the family, and I had some emotions. I was in myself, and because I stepped out to help a family member, and I put it all on the line, and I felt like I was getting dumped on. So in a personal conversation between my nephew and myself, just the two of us on the phone, not out in public in front of anybody else. This was just two men in a family, an old dog and a young dog talking back and forth, barking at each other. I dropped a couple of F-bombs, and I'll be real with you. It's just two people. Now trying to explain to him now, between you and I, that's not gonna do anything with canceling out my salvation or whatever. But at the same time, when we're out in public and when we're talking to people and we're putting things out there in public, we need to really, really, really be careful of our speech and our verbiage. And we need to be more careful when we're talking to people and we're trying to carry this word, because you see, who really wants to listen to us if all we have to say is all sorts of expletives, and we're not edifying anybody when we're doing that, right? Now, just between my nephew and myself, and this is like, first of all, he's like my little brother, because he's been with me all along. He's like my son because he's been with me all along. He is my best friend because he's been with me all along, and he's my favorite nephew because he's my sister's only son. And so, he's my boy. So we have a relationship and a dynamic, where we talk to each other, in a particular way, but we love one another. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can be barking in each other's face, but he's not going to jump at me and I'm not going to jump at him. And in the end of it, we'll give each other a hug and a kiss, and it's all good. We just two dogs. We just got it off our chest, but that's how we are. He and I, but I certainly wouldn't behave that way, and neither would he out in public. That was two guys, who know each other very well, on a telephone call or even in each other's face. We've sat side by side, woofing at each other, but he knows that I'm woofing at him because I love him, and he's woofing back because he loves me. He wants to, Unc, I'm not a little boy anymore, but when I look at him, I still see that little guy, because his age, even though he's getting older, I'm getting older, and so the age gap is still the same. You're never going to catch up with me. You know what I mean? So so I understand what my grandmother said, one time. You always going to be a child to me, and even when you're grown, you're always going to be a child to me. And it's not that you're a child, it's the age gap is always going to be the same. It's never going to close. So you're never going to catch up to me to what I know. You still got to go some years before you know what I know. Just keep on living, Grandma used to say. So I wanted to say it to our behavior. Someone mentioned to me to go and check a person out and see if you like this person. And I'm going to tell you, because I know that you're going to watch this, and I'm going to tell you that I do like that person. I do. I'm not going to call the name because it's not necessary. You and I know who we're talking about, right? Because you're going to watch this, and I know that you are. So, but I do like the person. I do like the message. What I don't like is the presentation. Okay. Our scriptures tell us that we're not to mar our body with tattoos. Now, I have tattoos, but I got them before I got into this truth. And so I'll never show them off. No one will ever see them. You know, if and when I marry, my wife will probably see them. She can't, inevitably she's going to see them. Invariably, she's going to see them if I don't get it removed. But, I did that before I understood, anything about this truth. So I would never show it off, and I would never use it in the hood as a rite of passage. In the hood, it's like, if you got tats, it's like, you're coming of age, your manhood, and I see chicks with them on their chest and, all of that. I wouldn't do that, and if a wife of mine came into this truth and she had some tats before, she got into this truth, if she was tatting herself, then I would have to call her on it, but if she had these tats before she got into this truth, and once you marry, or especially if you get with me, you're covering that up. That's not for anyone else to see. You're covering that up. So if you got a sleeve going on, you're going to wear a long sleeve, because that's just the way that we got to do it. You're going to present yourself holy and set apart. And that's the whole thing is, as our behavior, we got to be holy and set apart, y'all. So we can't walk around dropping F-bombs. We can't walk around, using expletives, all the time in public. Like I said, my nephew and I, and even my other nephew, Mike, between ourselves and amongst ourselves, we might talk to each other in a particular way, but we would never do that in public, especially if we're trying to minister to someone, you know what I'm saying? Now, we might say something, and I've let, I'm not perfect, guys. I've let a few go out here this way. But I still try to be mindful about what I'm saying, and I still try to be mindful about the presentation and the way I want to bring. So we got to check our behavior, because I'm always checking me first. I'm the first one. I got a mirror right in front of me. I'm the first one looking in the mirror saying, man, what are you doing? You should have thought twice about that, because a lot of times I'm speaking off the top of the head. A lot of times I'm trying to let the Ruach flow, and I'm not trying to, be in control of anything, but sometimes flesh gets in the way and it'll step up and it'll say something. So we have to be mindful, because we're going to be held accountable for every thought and deed done in this body. So with me, I try to pay attention to that. And since I don't have a wife around me, I don't have a wife. So I be careful about what I say and what I do in the way that I present myself. And if I had a wife, she would have to be careful about what she said and what she did when she presents herself. Okay, so that's what I was talking about there, about over here on the side, because I'm leaving myself little notes where nephew's talking about, Unc dropping F-bombs, but that was just between me and him. Okay. So I said that to say this. Let me do this. This is Peter. He began to curse and swear, saying, I know not that man. And immediately the cock crew. So first of all, he was cursing. Okay, so people will say, that's, we're not speaking Hebrew, we're speaking English, we're in the land of our captivity, we're speaking up. But you see, the Father still knows. That's like almost saying like he doesn't know what language you speak. He's the author of all things, the author of all languages anyway. So he knows exactly what you're saying, when you're speaking in the language of your captivity. So you can't say that doesn't count, especially, when you're out and you're on the streets and you're calling people all kinds of names and telling them that they're not going to make it, in this book. They are going to make it. They're going to be servants, but they're going to make it. So you don't want to turn them away, because, the Gentiles have a purpose in here. If you turn away all the Gentiles, who's going to be your servant? The scriptures say that those who held you captive are going to be your captives. And so if you make all of them walk away, who's going to be your servant? Duh. So anyway, he began to curse and swear. This is Mark 14:71. He began to curse and swear, saying, I know not the man of whom you speak. There was a good one in here. I think it was one of the commentaries on the side, which I saw, and I think it was Let me see. Let me see which one it was. And that's not it. But it was talking about. Oh, let me see if it was Meyer. Oh, okay. I think it was Meyer. Yeah, here's a good one, because I had thought about this before, but I never explained it this way to anyone. But Meyer has a good one here when he talks about how let me just read it. He says, "What a shameful travesty of justice when men yield themselves to violence like this. Their passion condemns them as perpetrating the devil's work. But in the whirlwind of abuse and horror, the one thing that hurt our Mashiach was the defection of Peter." Okay, it was love that led him to dare to follow to the court. So because of his love, he followed behind him, and John contrived to get him in, but he stood too near the fire amid that motley group who were discussing their night adventure, and he had been too self-confident. He had not watched under prayer. The more he cursed and swore, the more he betrayed his Galilean brogue. Now, when I read that, I'm like, right, exactly. See, because that's how they knew. See, they turned around and they said, wait a minute, you must be one of them. Because they could tell by the speech, by the way he talked. By the way he spoke, they could tell by his speech. That was his Galilean brogue, his accent, right, is what gave him away. The way that he spoke, because you see, that speech, you got to understand that Christ wasn't walking around talking rough and tough to everyone. He always spoke to people peacefully. He spoke to them in love. He spoke to them in a way that drew them in, right? So that, even if like the woman at the well, he was not there to give her anything. The Samaritan woman, he was not there for her. He said, "I'm here for the children, and the children's bread have to go to the children first." He said, I don't have the children's bread to give to dogs. And she said, "Yes, master, but even the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table." Okay. So even when he was saying that to her, he wasn't saying that rough and harsh. He was speaking in a manner, that still projected love, but he was being nice about it. I'm not, baby. I'm not here for you. I'm here for the kids. And, you'll get yours, but let the children first be fed, And she wasn't asking anything of herself. She was asking for her daughter. So that's why she pressed him. She was like, "But my baby, my girl, I don't care what happens to me. My baby, take care of my child, please." So his Galilean brogue, the way that he spoke, because they all spoke from hanging around him for 3 years. You got to know you're gonna end up speaking like him. You're gonna end up walking like him, talking like him, acting like him. You're gonna be like him. So that was his giveaway, right? The agony that ensued. Did he rush off to Gethsemane and throw himself on the bent grass? Where is he? On the bent grass where the form of the master had so recently lain prostrate? Did his tears mingle with the sweat of blood? But Yehoshua loved him still, and was preparing a propitiation that would cleanse his sin, as he had already secured that his faith should not fail. Okay. So, when I read that, I was like, right, exactly. So, that's the thing. Our behavior, man, we got to watch what we say. So it doesn't matter if we're in a video, right? Because you don't have to be on the streets. That video is going to touch a lot of people. Okay. And so I'm still talking to you, girl. That video is going to touch a lot of people, right? And you're still going to, reach a lot of people, and you're still going to see, you can't have that street bravado, right? Because that's not humility. I'm from Detroit. Okay. You can't have, all right. So you gotta, so you want street cred. First of all, you still want to be hard, you don't want nobody running up on you. You don't want to look soft or whatever. So you still got, but see, here's the thing. You can be hard and be soft at the same time, but you don't even have, because the battle is not ours to fight. Right. I can tell you so many times where I've had, even my mother run up on me and try to do damage and harm to me, and the Ruach said, no, not him, not now, not this, and shut her down, right? I remember one time, I don't even have anything around me I can show you, but yeah, I do. I'll use this for example. All right. Imagine this being a stick that big around. Okay. About yay long. Okay. Say from your elbow to your arm. Okay. And we had windows. We lived at 666 West 66th Street. Okay. I want you to get this, right? And our windows used to raise up and down. It was an older house. Okay. They didn't slide side by side. We're in LA. This, they raise up and down. And so this stick was in a window, holding the window up. Okay. And I had scriptures in my lap. And I had Christian radio on at the time. That's what I was doing. Had scriptures in my lap. I'm trying to read. I had, Fred Price on the TV, or I don't know, Jimmy Swagger. Somebody was on the television. So I had a radio going with this. I had scriptures in my lap. I had the TV going, and my mother's in the next room behind me over here doing a Buddhist chant, right? I'm laughing, and at the same time I'm hurt, and I'm like, how are you praying to a box? I mean, what's that all about? Because see, I come from a long line of musicians and preachers, so I had a hard time trying to conceive this. It was something that my aunt put her on. I'm like, how are you praying to a box? I mean, you can pick that God up like this and throw him across the room. She sees going back and forth. I'm like, but you can't do that with mine. Mine will pick yours up and smack him off the shelf and make him lay on the floor. And so we were going back and forth. She was mad at me for whatever. And so she ran into the room. Okay. This particular time, one time she couldn't even get in the room, but another time she ran in the room and that window was open in front of me with a fan. And she grabbed that stick and she yanked and she tugged and she yanked and yanked and yanked and tugged and yanked. And the stick did not come out of the window because she was going to hit me with it. Okay, this is the kind of woman that I grew up with. Okay, lots of violence, lots of abuse, but I love my mama in the midst of all of that. Okay, but she couldn't get the stick out of the window. Right, so after her frustration ended and she left the room, I was sitting there tripping. Picked my scriptures up out of my lap. I walked across the room and I pulled the stick out the window and the window slammed down. Blam! I was like, oh. See, that let me know right then who was holding me and who was protecting me. And she couldn't get the stick out. I mean, we're talking about like King Arthur, right? Nobody could pull the sword out of the stone except him, right? She could not pull the stick out of the window. It was not moving. It was not moving. Okay. I walked over there and pulled her out of the window slammed down. Blam. Okay. So these battles are not ours. So what I'm saying is that I don't have to worry when I walk the streets. I don't have to worry about walking hard. I don't have to worry about anybody running up on me or my credibility or somebody trying to think I'm soft in the streets. I don't worry about that. You see, because I've been in a room that got shot up before and nothing touched me. As a matter of fact, the father just, I'm in that room and it's like a force field went around me and he just did like this and I wasn't there. And the whole room got shot up. And then when it was all over with, he put me back. And it was like I woke up and I looked around. I'm like, where is everybody? I got this in a video. I told the story before. Okay. So what I'm saying is that we don't have to project being hard. That is not what gets us in. That's why I said I like what he's saying. I don't like some of the expletives. Actually, I don't like any of the expletives. I'll put it that way. And I'm not too much for the presentation. I think there's a better way to present his material. And he's got a good message. I think his message is good. Me personally, I just would have presented it a different way. And I don't think that the father is going to be too cool with the way that the verbiage is coming off. And I say that to say this. That's the very reason I left Motown. Okay. I was at that point. You go to a certain level and then you've got to cross over. You got to go through the door, where they're going to try to turn you out or you're going to leave. And right when I got to the door, I had a choice to make. And I chose not to go through the door. I chose not to join the club. And so I turned around and walked away. And it was everything that I wanted. It was everything that I had worked toward. I was there. I was running in a very small circle of people. And my friends were like, man, the people that you run with, people give their eye teeth to hang out with. Temptations, Stevie Wonder. I was on Stevie Wonder's label. Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, I'm hanging with, the Marvin Gaye, the background singers of Joy. I'm playing at the Brown Derby. I'm over at Solar Records with the Silvers and Dick Griffey. And I mean, I was in a circle, a very small circle that people give their eye teeth to be in. But I got to a point where it was either join the club, and I was being pressed hard quite often. You can have the golden check. All you gotta do. You can have the brass ring right now. You can sign right now. You can have it all right now. See, but because I was a believer and I was the only one in there. I mean, people would say, "How did you get in here?" Because Motown was a sex machine during those days. I mean, a literal sex machine. You had to do things in order to get a contract. I had to do nothing to go through those doors. I went through in my mother's name. My mother, they all know my mother from Detroit. They all, because when she grew up there, Motown was a fledgling little company, and she sang with the Primettes, and the Primettes became the Supremes. And I walked into my mama's name. I didn't sing one note. I didn't play one instrument. I walked in on my mother's name. So when I got to that plateau, when I got to that door, and this is something that your friend is talking about, your guy is talking about, making a milli on his own and in the streets and blah, 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 blah. When you're at that level, and you go that level, even as because I was doing mine as a Christian artist, it's no different whether you're a secular artist or a Christian artist. They all come to the same door, and they all have to make a choice, because that music industry is driven by a demon that you either comply with or you get nothing. And so I chose to walk away. Now, I still do music. You hear that playing in the background. I just do a different kind, and I do it for a different reason and a different people. I still have some hump and jump. I still dance like David danced. I still got my funk, but I'm not in the industry like that. And even if you say that you're not, there's going to come a point you're going to reach that door and you're going to have to cross over. Okay. So enough of that. So I'm talking about the tongue. Okay. At that point. So here we are. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. So we got to be careful about that little thing right there. It's the smallest member on the body, but it kindles the biggest fires, the scriptures say. A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that live it shall eat the fruit thereof. They that love it actually shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from trouble. So, this thing, even if you call yourself a Hebrew, what comes off your tongue, still matters. It still matters. So you can't just say anything. Okay, the other one's talking about cursing, right? Here we're talking about just how powerful the tongue is, right? So you still just can't say anything, when you're out there speaking to people, right? Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. Proverbs 21:3. By long forbearing is a prince persuaded, and a soft tongue breaketh the bone, right? So that's our behavior. We walk around. I see a lot of dudes from these camps. One guy was like, if you don't like what I say, then F you, you soft N-word, right? So I'm trying to correct a lot of things for myself, you see, because the Father wants us to be like children. He said, unless you approach this like a child, you'll not see the kingdom, right? And I have to roll that all the way back in my head and remember that red letter edition, these are the words of Christ, right? So you can be out there as bad as you want to be and say whatever you want to say, as hard as you want to say it. And you could even condemn me and be like, F you, whatever, soft I mean, you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, do I want to take the chance of the Messiah looking at me and say, I never knew you. Your heart was nowhere near me because you were still in the world with that behavior, with that attitude. You're carnal. Now you're carnal because that's not how he behaved. You could say you soft, but you can say what you want to say on that level. But here's the thing. Are you willing to take the chance to have the Messiah say to you that I never knew you? I cast out devils in your name. I did this. Yeah, but your heart was far from me. I never knew you. Your mind, the Greek translate the heart as the mind. Okay, your thought processes. I never knew you. You were nowhere near me. You were so hard. You were out there in the streets. You were dealing with the world. I don't know you, right? And we got some brothers from some camps who walk this way and talk this way, right? And then I had a pastor I posted not too long ago who did the same thing. You don't like what I say? You don't like what I do? Get the hell off my page. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. See, at first I thought that was funny, but then the father, and here's what I love about my father. He's like, look, remember our conversation when you were 19? Remember you said this to me and I said that to you. Do you still stand on that? Or have we grown that far apart? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's my behavior. I got to change that. And I tell anybody and everybody, the people who know me personally, if I say something to you, and it hurts your feelings, tell me so I can change my behavior. Why would it be any different with him? If I say something, Father, that hurts your feelings, that doesn't line up with your word, because you know how I am. My heart, I break myself for you. So if I go outside of your will and outside of your word and I do something that breaks your heart, he knows how to get to me. He'll get me in a dream. He'll wake me up in the middle of the night and drop a scripture on me. He knows how to get me, right? And so when it came down to, look, we need to have a conversation because now we're dealing with Israel's behavior. And not only Israel, you too, you're in that bucket too. I'm like, okay, hey, I'm check me out. I am not running from it. If the sword cuts both ways, if you want me to swing it this way, when I pull it that way, it's pulling right across my chest too. So if it cuts you, it's cutting me at the same time. When I draw that thing, it's cutting me at the same time. When I reach back here and I pull it out to swing it at you, it's slicing the heck out of my back before it even gets to you. Okay, so a lot of times when he gives me messages, they're cutting me before they even cut you, because he's showing me stuff that he wants me to straighten out in my life so I can talk to you. So we're going to get down to Hebrew sexuality. Okay, strange fruit, y'all. Strange fruit. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I even have this up. Let me see. Do I even have this up? I don't think I have this up. But I'll bring a couple of them up. Let me see what's because here's the thing, sexuality. There's a lot of women out there looking for husbands. Okay. And they're looking for husbands and they're doing things that are causing them to act a particular way. Okay. I'm going to show you this because when I saw this, let me do this. When I saw this, I was like, really? I'm a Christian, but I thought a little. Okay. Hey, look, we got Hebrew girls out here. We got Hebrews, melanated women out here. I mean, because where do you think the thought came from? That didn't come from the Gentiles. That came out of the hood. So that's us, right? That's us. Let me show you something else because I posted something and someone shared a video of mine. Now, I took all of the information off of here, but I want to show you this. because this is on the Hebrews page. Okay. That's on the Hebrews page. I took everything off of it because I'm not trying to put nobody on blast. I'm just trying to show you this is our behavior, Israel. Right? So is that how we're supposed to act? Is that what we're supposed to do? Okay. Right? And I'm gonna take that down because that's enough of that. But the thing of it is that there's enough of that. Yeah, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire because we're supposed to, Israel. We're supposed to be holy and set apart. We're not supposed to be like the world. So why are we acting like it? Why are we acting like the world if we're supposed to be separate and set apart? I remember one time this chick wanted to date me, right? And she said, come up to the house and we'll have some dinner. I'm like, okay. She's like, I got a video I want you to watch, right? So I'm like, okay. So I'm so naive to some things. So anyway, she's like, I got a video I want you to watch. I'm like, all right. So we sit chilling. She put the video on, and it was Jimi Hendrix getting a blowjob. Okay, we grown ups in here. I'm gonna tell you what it is. And that's what she wanted. So she was playing me a porn video, letting me know that's how she wanted to get down with me. Okay. And it's Jimi Hendrix in bed with 3 white girls, and they doing the do on him, and she trying to let me know this is what she wanted to do with me. That's the road she wanted to go down. Listen, this is a pastor that said that what did he say? These hoes ain't loyal. He says, ladies, if you want to be the only woman your man looks at, shine it up. Don't let the hoes he come across outshine you. You know what that means. That's what the pastor's saying. Shine it up. Don't let the hoes he come across outshine you. I had a friend one time. We used to go to karaoke all the time, he and I. And his wife would not let him out of the house with me. She was like, you got to come back. But we late. She said, yeah, but you come back in about 30 minutes or so. He can go with you then. She wouldn't let him out the house. What she did was she sexted him like crazy before she let him go anywhere. I'm gonna take everything you got. You won't have nothing to give by the time you get wherever you two are going. That's how she was every time. So she knew if we were going on karaoke on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, by the time I got there, she had already took care of him. And he'd be ready to go. Yeah, I'm good now, dog. We can leave. used to kill me. I'd come over. Is it that time? Can you come back in 30 minutes? Yeah. And we would go out karaoke, and me and him, and we'd be out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But I wasn't out there looking for anything, and neither was he. But she made sure of that. I'm one of those guys. I got really good self-control, right? I've been flying solo for a lot of years, and sex is not an issue. I don't. That's not something that burns me out. I don't burn out on the inside like that. So even when this chick was playing me this video of Jimi Hendrix, I'm thinking, what really? That's what you're doing? See, because I expect a lot more from a woman. I'm looking for some virtuousness in this, but we'll get to that. I was doing a study on the sin in the garden, and there's a few different kinds of fruit. Okay, so I'll just leave it where it is. There's a few different kinds of fruit. So every fruit kind has a type, So there's oranges, right? And then there's different types of oranges. You got navel oranges, and Florida, however they mess with the oranges, they get different types of oranges. And then you've got apples. And then there's different types of apples. Your Granny Smith, your Washington Delicious, you got different types of apples, right? So that's why I put the questions there. How many different types of fruit are there? Okay, we might not be able to get into this, but I'm going to try to touch it a little bit. Now, I said to you guys before, those of you who've been following me for a minute, how I even got into this in the first place. Okay, because when I came down this road, I didn't come down this road by any camps or whatever, right? I was a Christian minister studying these words, okay, and I wasn't following pastors, and I wasn't following anybody in particular, just like I don't follow any camps or whatever. I read and study for myself. I might listen to what you have to say. If I hear what you have to say and it's interesting to me, I'll pull my books out and I'll sit down and I'll dig it out and I'll be like, okay, Father, you show me where the truth is in this, because I heard what the brother said, but you got to show me. You see, I don't just take somebody's word and then just start following them for whatever reason. This is a personal journey I'm on, and my journey says, let every man work out his own salvation. So if you're my dogs just got up, they want to go outside. So I'm going to do that real quick, but because it's 2:00 in the morning for them, and this is their regular time. This is how I wake up every night at 2:00, let them outdoors, and then I go back to bed. But hold on, baby girl. Hold on, mama. So that's the thing I do. I'll ask the Father, you show me what you need me to do, and I'm going to study it out, and let's find out what we can do. Okay. So hang on for a second, family, and I'm going to take the dogs out. I'll be right back. I'm just going to let them out, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. So anyway, that's how I move inside of this. I'm not following anybody in particular. This is a personal journey I'm on, and I study for myself. I find different people, or the Father puts them in my path, for me to study with. Like I just found some new brothers who are younger than me, but and I learned something from everybody. Even if it's wrong, I learned something. I learned something wrong. I know not to do that. You know what I mean? So I learned not to follow that, not to get into that. And these brothers are talking about messianic believers and non-messianic believers, and so I had never thought about that before, even though I had read it in the scriptures. I hadn't thought about it because I know that I believe in the Mashiach, okay? But then there's some brews out there that act like he hasn't come yet. They're still waiting. They're like, no, don't do the New Testament or whatever. I'm like, really? There's people that think, because I know there's some Jews that do that. I'm like, really? They do that? And over here, they do that over here? I'm like, okay, all right. See, that's the problem with following people and being in a group, because if you let that man lead you and that man is wrong, if that man got 3,000 people under him, he's got 3,000 souls to answer for if he's wrong. You know, it's just enough for me to get me in by the skin of my teeth than for me to be leading a group of individuals. This is a personal journey. If you like what I'm talking about and the things that I share, then you're sharing in my journey, but your walk is your own personal walk, right? If I find the truth and I share it with you, then grab that truth like it's gold, and hang on to that. We can walk together arm in arm, but I'm not your leader. You dig it? I'm not your leader. I mean, unless the Father tells you follow him because he's going the right way, then that's what you do. You obey the commands of the Father, But I was out there as a Christian minister, and the Father brought me down that road, to get me here because I was studying on my own. I wasn't following a pastor. I worked in the church. I worked alongside some pastors, but and them pastors knew that I'm not the one. I mean, look, I was in the church one time, okay, and the pastor who was in the church told this visiting pastor, you better watch what you say, because that young man right there, he know them scriptures. You can't come up in here just saying any old thing. Plus, he go over there to Fred Price, and everybody was like, ooh, Fred Price, oh, wow. When he first came on the scene at Christian Center, he was a very controversial and dead set in the scriptures, minister. And everybody knew. And that's the reason why I went to Crenshaw, because Crenshaw was all about them scriptures. He started to fall off, in later years, and then he let his son get in. And, as the church grew and that money from the outside started pouring in, where these bigger ministers were sowing into him, like Kenneth Hagin and Kenneth Copeland, things started to change. And then the Father was like, I said, well, I can't feel this no more. I'm not feeling this no more. And especially when the church got so big, to the point where I couldn't just go sit on the front row anymore. I'd be in a side room. And then all of a sudden I'm on the front row again. And it's like, well, what happened? How did I get on the front row? Why? Because I'm sitting here with half the Temptations from Motown, and they got us on the front row because when the camera pans around, that's the first people who are going to be seen is all the celebrities and stuff who's sitting in the church. Natalie Cole and everybody. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I didn't come here for this. And I had been with Crenshaw Christian Center when it was just a little hole in the wall on Crenshaw Boulevard. This is long before it got over on Figueroa and moved into a Pepperdine University and turned itself into ever increasing faith. It was just a little Crenshaw Christian Center in a little video church. On Crenshaw. That's how I became Crenshaw Christian Center. You know what I mean? In its humble beginnings, that's what I liked about it. Because the minister in there was, he was trying to teach from the depth of the word the best he could, and that's what I was getting. And that's where I was studying at. But then, the Father was like, okay, it's time to move on. And then he took me to this little country preacher, a little old white man, who started teaching me about the Hebrews. And nobody else was talking about that. But something about him and his search for the Hebrews impacted my mind. And I started running with him for the next 15 years, because he was on a hunt for the Hebrews. I didn't know that he was looking for me and I was looking for me. I didn't know that. I didn't find it out until just recently. But that's what it was. Okay. That's what it was. And that's how I got started. Okay. So let me grab the doggies and I'll be right back. And one of these days, I'll show you my babies. I got a Wire Terrier Yorkie mix and a Chihuahua Dachshund Jack Russell mix, a Chiweenie Jack. A Chihuahua that looks like a hot dog with long legs. So I was in the study with this man, Crenshaw Christian Center. I mean, no. What is the name of his church now? Shepherd's Chapel. So we started going into the different types of fruit is what it was. Okay. So So apples and oranges, is what we were talking about. So what types of fruit do we have in our life? Your wages are the fruit of your labor, right? A harvest is the fruit of the ground, and children are the fruit of your loins. Okay. Now, I said that to say, now I might have to turn this into 2 studies, and I think I just might, because I'm going to have to go into another one. I'm going to keep this one at about under an hour. And so we got about 11 minutes, and I'll take a break and I'll start up and we'll go into part 2 of this. I'm going to end up having to name it part 2 because I do want to get through this. And so I know that I would normally do a 2-hour setting, but most of you guys can't sit for 2 hours and study. Most of you guys have to, move around, or you got to go play a video game, or you got to eat and turn on the TV, or you can't stay in your word for 2 hours. I can do this 2, 3, 4 hours. Doesn't bother me, right? Because I don't watch television. I could care less about sports, football, soccer, baseball, whatever. I don't care, right? It doesn't matter to me. I don't watch television. I don't listen to the radio, right? If like listen to the radio for real, for the crap that's out there. If I want new music, I create it. Okay. If I want to hear something that, I'll sit back like this in this empty words. I'm talking about empty words. See, a lot of us have empty words. I'm talking to the Father. I can use this. I'm talking to the Father. I'm like, hey, look, why are everybody talking about empty words? What is it? Nobody has any integrity in their speech anymore, right? I'm singing this to the Father. There's no integrity. Everything is empty words. The only thing I can trust is you. The only praise I can give is to you, Yah. Because nobody has any integrity anymore. Where are they? See, we're supposed to be holy and set apart, and there's very few of us that are holy and set apart. So many of us are still following the world, but we call ourselves Hebrews. We say we're Hebrew, right? But the Hebrews were chosen because they were a small group. They weren't the mightiest of any. They were a little bunch, right? And they were a particular and a peculiar people. How can you be particular and peculiar if you acting just like everybody else? You're supposed to be holy and set apart, Israel. So what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? All right. So, hey, look, you know what? There's going to be a part 2. So we're going to wrap this up right here. And when we come back, we're going to get into these fruit, because I got something else to go into. This might even end up to being a part 3. Just depends. Because like I said, I got into this in a whole different way. I didn't come through a camp. I came out of Christianity, a false religion, into this. Okay. But like I said, I come from a long line of musicians and preachers, right? And the things that I learned as a Christian, nobody else in my family knew. Because I was studying the scriptures and studying the words, and the Father was giving me the golden nuggets, and I was throwing it to my family like, well, where are you getting this from? I'm like, right here. Out of the same book you guys are reading. Well, I don't see that in there. What do you mean you don't see it? It's right here. But then I learned Paul taught on 3 different levels. He taught for babies, the intermediates, and the mature. And it says in there that when you're full grown, you'll see these things this way, because you'll be pulling out the meat. As soon as I read, you're getting the milk of the word, and you should be going on to the higher things. And when I read that, I understood. I'm like, well, I want the higher thing, Father. I don't want the milk. There's babies who's been in this church 40 years, and they don't know what I know. I don't want this milk that they coming across these pulpits. I want that meat. What's in here? I want the higher thing. I kept praying for the higher thing, and he kept taking me up. See, little by little, bit by bit, and then, this is required of you and that's required of you, because you learn more and you get more, as you go. So that's the thing. You have to put yourself in that position and in that word to get that out of it. So some of you can't sit here and study like this. I have books around me, and why did it take me so long to get on and do this tonight? Is because I was peeling through my books to dig this out. You see all of this right here? We got a long way to go, y'all. We just got started. I got a long way to go, right? We get into Hebrew sexuality right now. We talking about some strange fruit. I got some things to show you, forbidden fruit. Forbidden fruit. So You know, if you can stay for an hour, you can stay for an hour. That's why I'm gonna cut it up into pieces so you can take a break. I don't have to take a break. I got water right here. If I, I got, you know, I can go pour myself a glass of wine, and not because I want to get drunk, but because I can drink my wine. And I got my wine glass right here. And if you know how to drink wine, you don't drink it to get drunk. And even Christ, when he turned water into wine, the man said, wow, you bring the good wine out first. Who does that? And when they were well drunk, that's what the scripture says. When they were well drunk, that means they drank so much that they got lit. That's when they were well drunk. They had drunk so well, they got lit. That's what the term well drunk means. When they had well drunk, that means they had drunk enough where they was like, dang, man, that's some good wine. And you still got more good stuff. I don't drink to get drunk, and I watch people in these churches, when they're supposed to be drinking wine, bringing you grape juice. We're supposed to, the blood of the vine, he shed his blood for you, the blood of the vine. He drank wine. He passed wine around the table. He passed unleavened bread around the table. But they give you this little matzo crazy cracker and some grape juice. And how is that? What's doing that in the remembrance of who? Of what? You're not even using the right stuff. Right? And when they broke off bread, they broke off a piece of bread. They didn't give this little teeny weeny square cracker. No, here, some bread, let's break some bread. They were having a meal. Read the story. They were eating a dinner. They had killed the Passover lamb, and he sent them to someone's house to prepare it. Read the story and read it with understanding. But we're getting off the point there. So I'm going to go back to this fruit. So there's different kinds of fruit, right? Strange fruit. Hebrew sexuality is crazy, y'all. So we're going to get into Hebrew sexuality next. Okay. So I hope you hang out. We're going to do the part 2. I'm going to stop this one, and then we're going to get into the part 2. Okay. But I hope you hang out for it. The Hebrew sexuality. My wife is going to have a lot to deal with when she finally comes along. If she comes along, she's going to have a lot to deal with because, this, I require you understand and know this, and as the head of your household, you're the priest of your house. They're supposed to be able to sit back and grab this. When she comes along, she got a lot to deal with, because there's just some stuff I'm not going to put up with, and there's just some stuff that she's just gonna have to get on board with, because I can see right now that there's a lot of sisters out here. They claim they want a man of God, but they don't even know how to behave with one. They don't know how to dress with one, and I watch them, these little hoes from these churches, I've seen plenty of them. I've bedded plenty of them when I didn't know any better. I was bedding them like they was, doves left and right when I didn't know any better. But then when I knew better, I did better. And I stopped because the Father put me in check. Like I said, when he deals with his kids, he's like, hey, listen. Hold on. Slow up. That's not what I want you to be doing. And then he'd take me to the scriptures and show me, because I told you how you do me. He'll be like, I need you to open the book. And I grab the book and open it up, and bam, right there on the page is what he wants me to be. Just right there. What he was just talking about in my head is boom, right there on the page. That's how I know when I'm being dealt with. And it doesn't matter. I can open up 2 or 3 books around me, and it might be different scriptures, but they all keep speaking to the same thing. Like when he woke me up the other night with Isaiah 11:11, and then I reached over and grabbed my other book and opened it up, and it fell right open to Matthew 1, talking about the genealogy. I was, okay, I'm good. And it just folds in on itself. Out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses is his word established. And he'll use the scriptures on you. If you got enough books around you, he'll establish his word. He surely will. It happens to me with my tablet. I have my tablet right here also, right? So my computer is up, my tablet's up. I got 2 books, I got Bible dictionaries, you know, and it doesn't matter what I touch. If that's where he wants me to be, boom, that's where it is right there. Okay. All right, Mishpachah. I'm going to jump off right here, and we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do more of this. All right. But thank you. Thank you for hanging with me. You know, I do appreciate that. I'll see you in a few minutes.